mean, if you offered me, well, I don't know, if you offered me a discount on a service, probably take it. If you started reaching out to me for an upgrade on my car, well, I love my car. I don't want to part with my car. You've got the wrong person there. Whereas, Joe Bloggs next door may be very happy with his PCP, his lease, whatever he's got. And actually, if you offered him an upgrade early at a discounted rate, may well take your hand off. But it's knowing those consumers well enough to be able to make the right offer at the right time for them.
And in terms of GDPR, it's a compliance issue as well, though. That relevance has to be factored in, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, how much of this data can we collect up front, and what are they getting in return for that?
Absolutely. Welcome to this latest edition of the AM News Show podcast. Joining me today is Charlotte Morgan, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Keyloop. She'll be speaking to us about the use of customer data and what it means for both retailers and OEMs as we pursue an omnichannel retail experience in automotive. I mean, I wanted to kick off by sort of talking about experience and really sort of the direction you've come into Keyloop from, because it's now such a... I appreciate that the digital theme is all-encompassing at Keyloop, but really there are an awful lot of different avenues and channels in there. So what's your experience, Charlotte, coming into the business?
I have always had an interest in data. I'll be perfectly honest. That's what my degree was in, science-related, then moved into starting to get involved in product marketing, and then marketing on a more general level, but always with a product tech-based influence. And then the last company that I was at prior to CDK or Keyloop as we are now was a company called Telium. They are data specific. They have a tag management solution. They have a customer data platform, which really gave me an insight into what does digital transformation look like? How does that play out across different businesses, across different industries? And actually, how do some of those challenges boil down to consistent pain points? And how do you take those pain points and then start to solve those at an international level? And how do you, with how you solve them, how do you then look at the difference in application of that solution to start to work with the nuances of different industries? So when a job came up at CDK and it was around product marketing, and I went for the interview and it was all around, we're moving to a more data-focused approach, I was like, naturally, great, this is what I've been doing. This sounds really exciting. I mean, I'd worked with some automotive businesses at previous companies, and what they were doing, how they were engaging within the customer journey, the fact that there are multiple players as well from a supply chain cycle. So consumer has multiple different parties trying to collect their data, trying to engage with them, trying to build out that single customer view. Piecing that with actually how does that work from an operational point of view? How do you keep your business running? How do you satisfy the retailer requirements that a dealership has to undertake to hit their profit margin and revenue targets, with also the OEM requirements for those franchise dealers out there, which, I mean, I love a challenge. So I saw that and was like, there's data everywhere. I'm in.
What's more appealing about automotive, Charlotte? Is it the pain points that you mentioned, or the sheer quantity of data? What
data every time I'm in. I mean that, and I've also started to realise. I mean, on a personal level, I have had a lot of cars, some more successful than others, but I've realised what an emotive thing it is, and actually, I love the idea of. Or I love working out how we start to build that hybrid world. There's a lot of conversations around how we build the online journeys, but I don't think we're ever going to have a full online journey for all customers. I mean, I can see it for a subscription model. I can see it if you're, buying fleet vehicles. I can see it if you're replacing your current vehicle with another exactly the same newer model. But I don't do that.
No, and equally manufacturers like to keep that product cycle fresh, so it very rarely happens that way, does it?
Exactly. And I think realistically, the more people I speak to, this seems to be a common thing that I clearly missed. the concept of going and trying on a vehicle. Does it fit with your life? I mean, you look at my car and on paper, my car does not fit with my life.
Come on, Charlotte, what are you driving?
An Abarth 595.
Oh, fantastic. Great fun. Well, you've come to the right place here. It's a decent drive in.
Absolutely. Loved it.
Are you working across everything?
No. So as I say, I fit within the Omnichannel retailing piece, which is primarily focused around sales and how do we make sales happen. So a lot of the acquisitions that Keyloop have made do fall into that. Inquiry Max, for example. We have a slightly different setup in terms of how we run our product domains, as we refer to them. And each domain has a product marketer like myself. And Office and CRM is a separate domain where Rapid sits. So both from the lead gen side and the live chat comms piece. That's in a separate domain because it supports both the sales and after sales journey. But anything that is purely sales will sit within the omnichannel retailing space. So as I say, Inquiry Max, Silver Bullet Storefront sits within that. Fisk, eMaster, that sits within there too. And then we've got a couple of initiatives that we're looking at. I mean, obviously we have products like Drive Showroom that we continue to support. And then as a wider piece, it's more about how do we start to integrate these more readily? How do we look at the partners that we have in the marketplace? How do we build on that? How do we improve both our own integrations internally with what we've acquired, but also with partners or future acquisitions? At
the moment, there's this shift within certain manufacturers towards an agency model, and that's clearly born out of a real appetite from OEMs for customer data, I guess, and a requirement to have a closer link with customers. Are car retailers at this point in time, are they firstly sort of justified in having their own appetite for data? And secondly, are they making the best use of that data to leverage their own relationships and retail style?
I would absolutely say yes, they are justified in having that data. I mean, we've heard from Mazda today around how important the dealer-consumer relationship is and how they want to maintain that. And I think whilst you have it, I mean, let's just consider it another touch point, right? It doesn't matter whether it's coming directly from the manufacturer or through their dealer network. It's still a touch point with that consumer. And if you want that touch point to deliver the best possible experience to that consumer, they need that data. They need to know what's going on. They're also, hopefully, going to feed your retention. So it's all pretty key from my perspective that is available. Are they making best use of it? To be honest, I think it's still so new, relative. I mean, as I say, I moved from a company that specialised in data. I'd seen the digital transformation cycle with a number of different industries, and let's be honest, we know automotive lags behind. We like tradition. So I think there's still a lot more that can be learned. But I would question whether the data is accessible and whether it's of high enough quality to really see what they can achieve or what retailers can actually utilise out of the data that they have. I think the potential is absolutely there, but I think it's going to be a little while still before we really start seeing the sort of the overall curve upward trend of people seeing the output of what they can do with actionable insights.
Do retailers, do you think, understand what can be achieved with customer data?
Tesco's is a great example, right? We all know there have been cases of supermarkets being able to identify lifestyle changes before the individual shopper knows that's happening, right? So the technology is there. We're just talking about a different application of that technology. Lifestyle changes, if you can start to not only look at what's happening within automotive specifically, but connect that to a wider lifestyle change, then you start to be able to go, well, actually, hang on. I know that person's now got a new job. They're going to have to commute further. They're now starting a family. They need a bigger car. They've just got a promotion. They might want a sports car. you start to be able to look at things like that. I mean, at a basic level, you could look at that anyway in terms of, how well do you know your customers? What are they paying on, their lease, their PCP? Have they moved to HP? Are they buying outright? Have they upgraded the vehicle every time they've come in to purchase a new one? Are they actually, with things like servicing, are they going for every recommendation, or are they holding off on the advisories for as long as possible? All of those start to become indicators or data points that we can pull in and look at actually what can we do to upsell, to improve that, to bring them back for their current lifestyle.
I guess increased touch points, certainly in the case of Tesco, where they might see a customer once, twice, 3 times a week. Increased touch points can obviously benefit car retail or anyone gathering that kind of intelligence. How much control will customers have over the data, and particularly in that dealer OEM dynamic, how's that going to shift? I guess open and transparent data sharing between franchisees and manufacturers is going to be key, and transparency with the consumer as to how it's being used.
Absolutely. And I think it will largely depend on what the value is for the consumer in terms of how readily available they will make their data. If you look at something like, take Singapore, right? They have SingPass there. You can scan, or they can elect from their personal details what they're willing to share with somebody. I'm not suggesting that we do that as a nation, but you start to see actually, it may be that we don't have to worry about GDPR preferences anymore because people only share the information for the preferred contact methods. So everything else becomes obsolete. We don't need that because they're not going to respond to us on that channel anyway. There are obviously huge consumer benefits, though, aren't there, as well? This is, it allows companies to reach out, to offer services appropriate to people. And is that an area that, I guess that is the area that Keyloop is trying to exploit, isn't it? Work with retailers to ensure that they are maximising that opportunity. Yeah. And I mean, let's be honest. We all have our cars. We like to be understood as consumers. And it's helping retailers work out what are the different segments or categories of consumers that they currently serve. For example, I mean, if you offered me, I don't know, if you offered me a discount on a service, probably take it. If you started reaching out to me for an upgrade on my car, well, I love my car. I don't want to part with my car. You've got the wrong person there. Whereas, Joe Bloggs next door may be very happy with his PCP, his lease, whatever he's got. And actually, if you offered him an upgrade early at a discounted rate, may well take your hand off. But it's knowing those consumers well enough to be able to make the right offer at the right time for them.
And in terms of GDPR, it's a compliance issue as well, though. That relevance has to be factored in, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, how much of this data can we collect up front? And what are they getting in return for that?
Absolutely. We always seem to get onto diversity. as
hot topic.
As we should. I mean, it's in automotive, it should be a hot topic. So I just wondered, from the data that you guys see, how much is omnichannel, the concept of omnichannel and particularly digital retailing, democratizing car retail? Is it leveraging that female engagement with car buying, servicing, and and the sector in general?
I think it's definitely making things more accessible to people. In that respect, there is more of a democratization, if that's even a word.
It works. I know what you mean.
Well, we'll roll with it. But I think it's going to take a lot of change. I mean, as you say, you seem to come onto it. It's a hot topic in the industry, full stop. And I've evolved my answer and my thinking around this a lot based on what I'm seeing, not just from the data that we have, but I guess from my own experience coming into the automotive industry. And I think it's almost like a pendulum effect. We've been one way as an industry for so long, we almost have to swing completely the other way before we can really start to level off and centralise in the middle. And I'm not going to lie, there's a whole pile of things where I get myself in an awful muddle and I think, should I be saying that? Should I accept that? Is that okay? Am I letting other women in the industry down? That's a lot of pressure to be carrying around. And I just think, if in doubt, let's err on the side of caution, because I genuinely do believe it is like a pendulum effect. We almost have to cater for the minorities, whatever they are, to be able to then centralise and go, okay, we understand those people better. We know what they want. We know how to deliver the best possible experiences for them. So now we can start to refine and look at the consistencies between them and our usual demographics.
And ultimately, I guess that's what all these digital products and solutions are about. Just opening up all lines of communication, all lines of transaction.
Absolutely. How else do you deliver personalisation?
Yeah, that is omnichannel. So lots of work ahead, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Listen, I think I'm happy to sort of leave our conversation there for now, but there's lots to go through in future, and you guys will be at AM Live, as I understand it. I know you'll have a presence at the AM Awards next month. So it'd be great to catch up there, and hopefully some of the viewers and listeners to this podcast will do the same. But great insight from you today, Charlotte. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you. It's been fun.